meditacionesdiarias.com.
Hello and welcome back. I am Lorena Meyer reading to you from Minnesota in the U.S. And this is from our adult devotional titled, I Am With You, Bible Promises for a Life of Full Assurance. Today's date is November 25th, 2023. That you may be children of your Father. Love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Matthew 5 verses 44 and 45. Peter Miller worked as a pastor in Ephrata, a city in the state of Pennsylvania, in the United States, at the time when George Washington was the country's president. Also living in that city was Michael Whitman, a bitter enemy of Pastor Miller's. Whitman frequently crossed paths with Miller and did whatever he could to humiliate that servant of Christ. Those were tumultuous times, and Whitman was accused of treason and later sentenced to death. Wasn't that good news for Pastor Miller? No, it wasn't. Miller went to President George Washington, who was a good friend of his, and asked him to set Whitman free. The president kindly explained he could not pardon his friend. Then Miller replied, "Friend, he's not my friend. He's my worst enemy." Surprised Miller had walked 70 miles to ask him to forgive his enemy's life, President Washington decided to sign the reprieve and pardon Whitman. Pastor Miller took Jesus' "but I say to you" seriously. In the Gospel of Matthew, the Lord presented a series of antitheses, and this is one of them. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. The first part of verse 43, love your neighbor as yourself, is in the scriptures, in Leviticus 19 verse 18, but the second, hate your enemy, had been added to give a human propensity the category of being divine. In the 5th century BC, Lysias, an Athenian, said, it is ordained that one should harm enemies and help friends. Jesus adds a, but I say to you, to our natural tendency to hate our enemies, and proposes something that defies our logic. We are to love those who seek to harm us, those who reject us, those who humiliate us, those who consider us their enemies, and those we consider to be our enemies. Loving them means respecting them, accepting them, valuing them, and treating them well. In doing so, we show we are children of our Heavenly Father. The word enemy should not be in our vocabulary. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us, and I wish you a blessed day.
Thank you for joining us. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel at m.youtube.com/c/Meditaciones Diarias and to follow us on our social media in Instagram at www.instagram.com/meditacionesdiarias7. May God bless you and your family.